This is the Sons of UCF, the number one place for UCF sports. With your distinguished host, Adam.
What was your reaction when you got notified that you were going to be a Hall of Famer? How does that sound to you? Coach O'Leary, Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I'm in a number of inducted into a number of Hall of Fame.
And Mike.
I don't know if you know this, but I won the 5K race that we did a couple weeks ago.
Now, here are the guys.
We are back, the Sons of UCF. This is episode number 168. My name is Adam, and as always, back again. Another week. We couldn't do it without him, Mr. UCF Mike. Mike, welcome back, my friend. How are you?
You probably could do it without me if you wanted to. But it's good to be back. It's good to be here in my spot anyway, before somebody steals it like Trace or something.
Well, we saw how well that worked last week when we tried something new with the video only recording. So we will keep you around for a little bit, Mike. And I'm actually pleased to announce as we open the show, Mike, that everyone out there should know that support for the Sons of UCF is now brought to you by Manscaped. That's right, Manscaped is the best men's below-the-waist grooming champions in the world. They offer precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched their fourth-generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, Mike. The 4.0. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with an exclusive offer to you, 20% off and free worldwide shipping. That's right, worldwide shipping with the code Sons of UCF at manscaped.com. Again, that's Sons of UCF at manscaped.com. You get 20% off. Mike and I will share more about that later in the show, but happy to have Manscaped along for the ride. Mike, happy to have everybody out there along for the ride, and thanks for listening in. Make sure you're following us on social media stuff. That's Sons of UCF wherever you do your social media. That's Instagram, that's Twitter, that's Facebook, and don't forget our YouTube page. Don't forget our website, TwoNightsMedia.com. You're going to want to bookmark that as well. If you're listening to this podcast, thanks for doing that. Make sure you give us a 5-star review. It wouldn't hurt anybody to just throw a quick little 5-star review, Mike. And that's all you need to do. You just do all of that, and Mike and I will take care of the rest.
Yeah, and we count on the guys leaving reviews and stuff. That helps just broaden the horizon of the show. Get more people aware of the show. Our audience is growing every week. We see the numbers going up, and people watching the YouTube channel and all that stuff. So we are appreciative of that. And the more we can grow the show, then the more we can bring to you guys. Better interviews, better video quality, all that stuff. The show will improve the more you guys help us out.
And we got some fun stuff planned too. Again, happy to have Manscaped on board. We've got some fun giveaway stuff coming up. So some fun times coming for us here at the Sons of UCF, Mike. But let's start off this week with probably the best news we've had to report in a long time. UCF and Gus Malzahn put out a statement this past week that Christy Malzahn, Gus's wife, was finally able to go home. She had been in the hospital after a lengthy stay with a fight with some sort of an infection. Obviously, we don't know much more details outside of that, but the detail that we do know, the detail that's most important, is that she has now returned home. Gus said that she will continue to be on the road to recovery, so certainly probably some milestones to cross, Mike. But the good news, probably the best news of the week, is that Christy is back home and hopefully getting stronger by the day.
Boom. That is the best boom we've heard in a while. We were very concerned about Christy. We didn't know what was going on. We weren't getting very many updates. And, the longer it went, the more concerned we were becoming. So great to see that she's back home now and recovering, and she'll be back to her normal self very soon.
Well, that's, again, no easy transition. Every time I do that, I don't know how else to transition to the next topic. But we're going to do that anyway, Mike. And probably the next topic is having to do with booms. And we now know that UCF finalized a recruiting class, and that consists of both high school kids and the transfer portal, Mike. And UCF put out this graphic. According to 24/7, the UCF Knights, 38 overall in the nation in recruiting. That's with 25 commits, Mike. Number 38 in the nation. 211.5 composite points. UCF's graphics department indicated this was the best recruiting class in UCF history, Mike. Number 38 overall. We knew when Gus got here, he was going to bring a name. He's going to bring some cachet. We hoped that recruiting would improve, Mike. Obviously, under the Heupel regime, I don't have them all in front of me, but I want to say we were kind of in the mid-50s for a bunch of those years. So a pretty significant jump in this 1 year under Gus. I guess, is this a big deal? Because we don't know if these kids are good, right? We do this every time we talk recruiting. We get really excited about the 4-star kid who we've never actually seen play college football. But is this a big deal to you that we were able to put together the 38th class in the nation?
Well, it's a big deal in that Gus came here and he said he was going to recruit like his hair's on fire, and he's done that in this short time here so far. And I'll come out and say right now, this is the best class in UCF history. It's probably, if Gus stays here for the next 4 or 5 years, maybe the worst class Gus brings in over the next 4 or 5 years, because he was just getting here, just getting started, and he even said he had a late start on this class, the 22 class. I expect it to get even better in 23 and 24. These are just the building blocks, but the kids that are bringing in are some big-time talented kids that can come in and step up right away as freshmen and contribute next season. Very excited to see a lot of these guys.
Well, obviously the transfer portal adds that other element to it, right? Because now you're getting kids who already played, although the rankings on that get kind of squirrely, right? So Terence Lewis, the former 5-star linebacker out of Miami, went to Maryland, did not play it down, and now somehow he's a 3-star. So some of that ranking stuff gets a little bit messy, I guess, as you're transferring school to school versus straight out of high school. So, who knows where those things fall. So Gus does have an advantage in terms of, I guess, the transfer portal having some options there, Mike. But let me put this class in context for everybody just for 1 second. So number 38 overall in the nation, 211 composite points. That puts them number 1 in the American Conference, 13 points better than the number 2 class, which is Cincinnati. So some of these classes get pretty close. I mean, it's fractional numbers that separate, 38 from 39 and so on and so forth. UCF with a very comfortable lead in the American Conference over Cincinnati. But obviously, we're not going to be in the American forever, although we will be with Cincinnati. So if you think about the new Big 12, so if you take Texas and Oklahoma out, UCF would then have the number 3 overall recruiting class in the new configuration of the Big 12. So a pretty competitive class, Mike, obviously in both our current conference and our future conference as well. So that's another really interesting sign as you think through what the Big 12 could do to recruiting. You mentioned this may be Gus's worst class ever. Will we continue to gain momentum by being in the Big 12, already kind of being in that top echelon, at least in terms of where we are today? You got to think it bodes well to maybe even move that needle further in the future once we're actually physically in the Big 12.
Yep, and that's going to be very soon. And those are the teams we need to start comparing ourselves to anyway. I mean, it's nice to be number 1 in the American. We're only going to be in the American for 1 more year. These kids are coming in as freshmen 3 years from now, and they're developed, and the starters on this team, it won't matter how they are compared to the rest of the American. It's going to matter how we compare to the rest of the teams in the Big 12. And we're already competing with those guys right now. This incoming class is competing just as well with the rest of those schools. So by the time they're seniors, they should be at the top of the Big 12 too, on the field. So very good job out of Gus this first year, or I guess technically his second year, but really first full year, and it's only going to get better from here.
Okay, here's the thing. Mike and I are not going to break down the game film for you and tell you who's got what because, you're watching huddle tape and you have no idea what you're really watching because how's the competition? Are they really any good? Who knows, Mike? But let's do this. We know there's a handful of high school recruits. We know there's a handful of transfer portal guys who came in, Mike. So let's break it down, I guess, in both categories. Give me the name of a high school recruit that you are most interested in kind of seeing what they turn out to be. Maybe you don't think they're going to be the best player. Maybe you're not even sure how much, if they're going to be a starter, but somebody who you're really interested to see how this person integrates to UCF this next season. Give us a name that you're interested in.
A high school recruit, you said?
A high school, yeah.
Or a transfer. This kid was kind of late in signing, or we didn't hear much about him until he actually signed, but Xavier Townsend is a guy that's got a lot of talent, a speedster. He can be a running back. He can be a wide receiver. He can kind of play that Ryan O'Keefe role, kind of similar to what Otis gave us back in the day, kind of a joker, somebody that can come in and do it all. So that's somebody I'm really looking forward to seeing. I know we didn't hear a lot about him leading up to the day he signed, but when he signed, it was a really big deal.
Yeah, he was a late flip from Iowa State. He'd been committed there for a long time. He's a high school teammates with T.J. Bullard, who's coming over from Tampa as well. And you're right, he may be a Swiss Army knife type of guy, right? A guy you could see maybe in the backfield, maybe in receiving. I don't know if he can return kicks and punts. Maybe he takes over some of that responsibility. So that's an interesting name from the high school ranks. The name that I'm interested in from a high school standpoint, Mike, and I don't know if this kid will contribute. I don't know if these kids are any good, but I'm going to go with Colton Boomer, the kicker, because we know that we've had some inconsistency in the kicking game. We know Obarski has made some, but obviously we all kind of lament some of the easy ones and some of the out-of-bounds stuff. This kid, Colton Boomer, appears to have a pretty solid leg on him, and he seems like a really nice kid, a high-energy kid, and someone who's going to come in and really compete. And so I'm curious to see and he's a walk-on too, by the way. I'm curious to see if he can push Obarski for that starting job, if he can at least provide the competition that maybe allows Obarski to grow. So while it's probably not the sexiest name out there, Mike, and he may never even see the field, I'm going to go Colton Boomer as a high school name I'm most intrigued with.
You're going with a guy that's not even on scholarship, but
yes.
It could, when it's all said and done. I mean, if kickers are the people that get the most points, he could be the all-time points leader in UCF history one day if he comes in.
Whoa, breaking news. Calling it now. Mike's calling it now. Okay.
Years. I mean, look up the all-time scorers in UCF history. I bet you the top few are kickers. So this kid's got a bright future ahead of him. Let's see if he can be consistent over 4 years.
Oh, I got to look that up next. Let's talk about transfer portal, Mike. Is there a name that you're interested in or intrigued in that is joining UCF from the transfer portal?
You mentioned him already, Terence Lewis,
mm-hmm.
a 5-star linebacker, a position of need. As we know, in the last couple seasons, we've needed some more linebacking help. But a 5-star, if this kid had come to us directly out of high school, we would be going crazy right now. You mentioned that he dropped to a 3-star, even though he didn't play a down of football last season. So, and he's a kid from Florida, Miami kid. So good to have him. I'm very excited to see him. I think he's one of these guys when I talk about freshman that can come in. Technically, I guess he's not a freshman anymore, right? I mean, he's a redshirt freshman, right? The second year of college.
Yeah.
He can come in right away and be a big-time player for us.
Yeah, that's one of the names I wrote down as an option as well. And frankly, just because of the position he plays. Obviously, we lost Tatum Bethune to the portal, so we're going to have a position of need at linebacker. We know we have JJB coming back, but that'll be a spot where we're going to need to find guys who can step in and play. So there are snaps available. There are downs to be played available in the linebacker room right now. And if this kid's as talented as he was coming out of high school, again, he's been slowed by injury. I think both the shoulder and the knee have been worked on over the past year. So we'll have to see how he progresses injury-wise. But you would think that this would be a name that has a lot of opportunity to get on the field and make a big impact for the Knights. Obviously, I'm going to stay on the defensive side of the ball too, Mike. I'm going to go with Lee Hunter, who is the I guess one of the latest transfer portal guys from Auburn. And this is a kid who plays the D-line, played sparingly in his year at Auburn. But we know we lost some guys on the D-line. We know we lost Kalia Davis for one, and a big body in the middle there. And so the depth on the D-line is going to be important. We saw how important that was in the 2021 season, Mike. This kid seems like a pretty massive human being, 300 and something pounds. And if he's got some push in him, Mike, if he can continue to I guess grow and develop as a player, and hopefully he can get that from the UCF coaching staff. I think if you can shore up the middle with him and a Ricky Barber and funnel those guys to Terence Lewis for tackles, I mean, we might be in business, my friend.
That's right. And then you put guys on the end like Trayvon Morris-Brash and Celiscar and these guys. We said it coming into this past season, defensive line could be a strength. It could be even better this year.
But overall, again, you got to be excited about the recruiting class. Number 38 right now. We'll see how all these guys integrate. It's interesting, Mike. Some of the high school kids, you wonder where there'll be spots to play. We know we got a ton of depth in the secondary from the high school ranks, but the secondary was really young last year. So I guess I'm curious to find out how Gus and T will mix some of these guys in, and then how do the transfer guys kind of break in. Obviously, we saw receiver Kobe Hudson come from Auburn. He's obviously a big-time player, but we know we lost some guys on the receiver side. We bring in some young guys in like Quan Lee. I'm really curious to see how Gus and Chip Lindsey and T will mix these guys together, because to your point, there's a lot of guys in this team. Jordan McDonald, the running back, seems like he's a phenomenal player. but the running back room is probably as crowded as any room on the team. I guess I can't wait for spring game and some of the depth charts to come out, even though they're going to be ridiculous and they're not going to be accurate, to figure out how all these guys are going to fit together.
Yeah, McDonald would have been my pick if it wasn't for the other running backs we already have on this roster. But like we saw last year, I mean, there's injuries are going to happen. Could happen in spring, could happen in fall camp. Somebody's going to get hurt on this team. Hopefully, I mean, that's just the way it is. That's just football. But McDonald could be another one that can be here for 4 years and really be a big-time player too.
Either way, there's a lot to watch. A lot of battles will be had, and Mike and I will spend some time talking through what all that means. But again, everything finalized now. The numbers are updated. I will say, in the spirit of transparency, UCF is the fourth ranked school in the state of Florida. So Miami, Florida, and Florida State outranked UCF in all the recruiting rankings. So just to be fair and accurate, we fell number 4, but still a top 40 class overall, Mike, and the highest in UCF history. So hopefully that means the arrow is pointing firmly in the up direction for the football program. Now, the basketball program, that, my friend, is a whole nother story. Another week of we do really, really well. We're feeling good about ourselves. We're excited. And then we go and just poop ourselves and look pretty bad, Mike. So for those who were under a rock, UCF now 13-8 in men's hoops, 5-6 in conference, and that comes off of a midweek win last week versus the Cows at home, a 68-49 beatdown. It was nice to get some revenge. Obviously, they beat us up pretty good in Tampa, so to have them come to Orlando and return the favor felt really, really good on Thursday night, Mike. But then Saturday night rolled around, and we went to Memphis, which is typically a house of horrors for us, and it's not a place we've historically played well. And surprise, surprise, nothing much changed. Memphis 88, UCF 60. So Thursday night we look great. Saturday night we look like we don't even know how to dribble the basketball. Mike, what are we doing? What are we doing here? What are we doing?
One step forward, 2 steps back. We've been doing this dance all season. I think you can kiss the at-large bids goodbye. Any dreams of that,
yes,
of making a tournament now,
yes,
forget it. It's over. They're last 4 in, last 4 out. It's not happening that way. We're going to have to go and win the conference tournament. We want to make the dance. At this point now, we're playing for seeding in that tournament, but we're the 7th place right now in the American. We got some work to do here in the next 2 games. I think we can get maybe one more loss here. The Houston game is probably what you're looking at. And you got to win all the home games. You got to win the games against Tulsa and Tulane there at the end of the year. It's not going to be easy, especially with the inconsistency that we've seen so far of this team. I wouldn't be surprised if we go even the rest of the way, 4-4 or whatever it is. So it is what it is at this point. Hopefully you just get hot for that week of the conference tournament, and maybe we'll see some magic. But other than that, it's been a disappointing basketball season so far.
Well, we talked about this stretch of games for a while, Mike. There was basically a murderer's row of games. It was 6 in a row, but then Tulsa got mixed in there, so it kind of became 7. So it was Wichita, Houston, the Cows, Memphis, Wichita, Tulsa, and Houston. We had said basically we need to go almost like 5-1, 4-2 in those games, and obviously you add Tulsa in. So of those 7 games, Mike, that we said we had to win right now we're sitting at 1-3. With a game at home on Tuesday with Wichita. Then we have the Tulsa game, which is a reschedule. I don't know what you want to call that, on the following Monday, and then we're at Houston, and that completes that stretch. We had said that we wanted to at least go 4-2, 5-1 in that stretch. Right now we're 1-3, and then after that we have the 4 closeouts, which is ECU, Cincinnati, and then at Tulane, at Tulsa. So to your point, this is where you play for seeding now. This is where you hope maybe you start to pick up the energy a little bit, get more consistency a little bit here, and get some rhythm going into the conference tournament where you get a better seed. Maybe you come in kind of hot. You come in with some confidence, some momentum, and maybe you make some noise in the tournament, and you kind of upend things, Mike. But the reality is, we say this every week, it's a coin toss, the team you're going to get, Mike. Let's go through some stats really quickly. In the Cows game, UCF shoots 43% from three-pointer. Darren Green Jr. has 23. Darius Perry has 20. It was a game where previously the Cows had killed us on the glass in Tampa. We rebound the Cows 42-32. So things are looking up. Things are looking fantastic, right? We go to Memphis, where UCF shoots 21% from three, 30% from the field overall. Memphis had 22 points off our turnovers. They had 23 fast break points. Darius Perry went 3 of 12. Darius Johnson went 2 of 12, and Brandon Mahan went 2 of 11. So our three primary guards went a combined 7 for 35, and we let Memphis shoot 56%. It's literally coming down to the point of, if we make enough threes, we will win the game. But if we don't have somebody who's going to be able to get open looks or make some tough contested shots, if Mahan's not making some of his, fall away shots where you're yelling no, 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 yes, if Darius isn't making some of his shots, if Darren's not getting looks, then this team does not have something offensively they can use. Again, 7 of 35 from your main three guards, that's just not going to get it done. And that's against 3 nights after we shoot 43% from three-point land alone. If the ball does not go in from three, it just feels like UCF doesn't have anything offensively they're going to do consistently that's going to help them win ball games right now.
Yeah, and it's contagious both ways, good and bad. When one guy is hot, they're all hot. When one guy's off, they're all off. And that's where you get the results we've been getting. It'd be nice to have an inside game, a half-court offense, which we have not seen get any better throughout the course of this season. You're saying it's either a wide-open three or a fast break. Other than that, our offense doesn't seem to work. We can't find a rhythm that way. Is it Mbake John that we need to feed down low and he does the little sky hook that every once in a while will go in? Or, JP Gilbert keeps calling for pick and rolls with CJ Walker. We haven't seen any of those.
Yeah.
I don't know what we need to do on offense, but what we're doing right now is not working. And on the nights where we come out hot and we're hitting those shots, that's fine. Keep going with that. But on the nights you see early, they're not going down. I know you keep saying the shooter's got to keep shooting and just shoot their way out of it, but sometimes it gets way too late for that. We got to have a different way to score, and we just haven't seen it this year.
Well, you asked this question before. I'll ask it to you again. If we needed a tough basket and we have to go down and score, and it's off a timeout, so there's no fast break situation, there's no ability to catch a defense in transition, it's going to be half court basketball. We need a tough basket. Whose hands do you want the ball
in? That's hard, man. Who's creating their own shot? Is it Perry? He just drives to the lane sometimes. He's so out of control with his stuff. I don't really trust it much. You'd like to just pass the ball around 4 or 5 times and hopefully you find an open guy behind the three and he can hit it. And Darren Green, if he's taking an open shot, I like my chances, but I really don't know who that guy is. Maybe it's Mahan or we've gone 20-plus games in this season, and nobody's really come out as the guy that you want with the ball in their hands.
Yeah, especially in the half court. I think that's where we get bogged down, is if we're not in transition, if we're not catching a team in a little bit of a transition, and that's where Darren Green Jr. does a great job of getting to a spot, getting the ball. Mahan, again, he'll pull up some of these ridiculous shots that you're like, oh my God, what are you doing? And then it goes in. You're like, oh, look at that. And so some of those are where you sort of catch a team off guard. But when it's kind of slowed down and when we're not hitting shots and when we're having to go down and play half court, I mean, the problem is you would think it would be the guards, right? So who has the ball in their hand the most? Probably the point guard, right? Darius Perry is shooting 39% from the field this year. Darius Johnson, who's getting a lot more minutes these days, he's playing okay, but he's shooting 33% from the field. So are those the two guys that you want to have the ball in their hand, right? You mentioned CJ Walker. He's obviously not a threat from deep, so he's going to need something kind of on the inside. He's shooting 50% from the field. Baka Zhang, again, he's another guy. If he's there, okay, that makes some sense. He's actually shooting 75% from the free throw line. Excuse me. So that's an option. But if this is a half court game, UCF just doesn't have the right pieces. I'm not saying these guys aren't talented. I'm not saying these guys can't play that way. But it's so far what we've seen is if we have to make this a half court game, that's where we're going to struggle. That's where we're not going to be able to make things happen. And if our threes aren't going in, it almost feels like, too, I guess the frustrating thing, I don't know if you feel the same, but it feels like after a while, if our threes aren't going in, it almost feels like we give up. Like, we're like, oh, well, I don't know. These aren't going in. And we have no, second alternative. We have no, okay, well, now we need to do this instead, right? You're a baseball guy. I'll give you a baseball analogy. It's like, hey, my fastball's not working tonight. Let me throw some off-speed stuff to see if that can catch them, right? It's almost like, hey, we're not making threes. All right, well, we'll see what we can do. versus what's our next plan. I don't know if I'm just saying that as an indictment on Johnny Dawkins. I don't know if it's just literally something that players have to control making shots. If they don't make shots, what are you going to do? But I guess that's the frustrating part, Mike, is if threes aren't going in, it's like just you can probably tell in a UCF game within the first 18 minutes or so whether or not we're going to be in this thing or not.
Yeah, and then every once in a while you get a game like that East Carolina game where we're down 20. It doesn't look like we're going to be in it, and then all of a sudden they catch fire. But that's only happened one or two times this year. You want to blame the coach for this? You want the players? Is it just the style of basketball, the way it's changed in the last few years? Or you see it in the NBA too, where it's a 3-point contest basically every night. But there are other ways to win, and I bet you when you watch the tournament and March Madness and all that stuff, the teams that go far, it's the same thing in basketball forever. You rebound the basketball, you win inside the paint, you get the easy baskets. Those are probably going to be the teams that go the long way.
Well, and defense, I think, is really the other thing to look at. If we're not making shots, that's going to be long rebounds. That's going to be fast break. That's going to be transition. Are we getting back? Are we getting, a hand up on a guy? The back-to-back games, we gave up 49 points to the Cows and then 88 points to Memphis, right? Now, I understand that the shooting disparity was a lot different, but if we're not making shots, we're not getting back on defense, we're not getting a hand up on open shooters, we're making silly turnovers, like that's how this thing kind of goes off the rails in a hurry. And then I think it's the defensive side that's probably been the other most frustrating thing, right? Shots are shots. They're going to go or they're not going to go. Defense should travel, right? Like defense should be able to play in Memphis, should be able to play in Wichita. And some of those games where it's like we're not getting stops, we're not boxing guys out, we're not closing out on shooters, we're not rotating to the open guy, and all of a sudden the other team sees a couple of ball goes through the nets and the crowd gets excited and boom, 88-60, we're off the court.
Yeah, the first couple of years Johnny was here, he really prided his teams on defense. It was a defense first kind of team. And now this year, the defense has been not great. I mean, how many games have we given up over 80 points this year? It's happened a bunch of times. So, and that's something that, like you mentioned, shouldn't go in slumps. Your defense, that's all effort defense and hustle plays, diving after balls, things like that. I don't see us winning a lot of those battles this year against teams. I see teams out hustling us. They're definitely out rebounding us. And, our defense has been lacking. So, That explains this whole team.
Yeah.
If you're not going to make your shots and you're not going to play defense, there's no way you're going to win basketball games.
You're going to be 88-60 overall. But like I said, 13-8 right now, 5-6 in conference. That's obviously got to improve. A Tuesday night, Wichita at a 9 p.m. start time, so a late one for us East Coasters here. So set your watch, your alarm, whatever you got to do. And then obviously we'll have Tulsa and then Houston. And then the Final Four kind of throws out that stretch, and then into tournament time. Look, I know there's a lot of Johnny Dawkins stuff. For some reason, we said the words Johnny Dawkins truthers, Mike, and that's like the only thing people heard about our show recently. So I don't know. There's plenty of time, I guess, for the Johnny Dawkins discourse. Let's let the season kind of play out at this point and see how these guys rally. I think to your point, we can probably exclusively break now that an at-large tournament bid seems highly unlikely for UCF. Really the best and only path forward at this point would be to win the conference tournament. Anything can happen. It's never say never till it's over kind of deal. But obviously you recognize the challenges in front of it. So that's where we are with basketball. Hopefully we can maybe make a mini run here, get some momentum, and I get really all we need is make some noise in the tournament. Like when we steal a couple games, you get to the final, then you never know what happens.
Yeah, get me to that Sunday. I guess it would be a Sunday, right? The final game. Get me to that day. And I'll be happy at that point. Give me a shot. Give me a game to watch for all the marbles. Win and you're in. That wouldn't make me happy at least. But, we gotta start competing against the top teams in this conference. The Houston game, we're gonna play them on the road. Even if we don't win that game, what we need to do is really have a competitive, tough game to have confidence that if we do see those guys in the conference tournament, we feel like we can play with them. That's gonna be a big part of that game coming up soon.
Well, either way, let's keep an eye on it. We'll see where it's at. Obviously, I'm sure we'll have more dialogue as things progress, Mike. But not a lot going on these days with UCF. So those are your kind of opening headlines, Mike. And we'll move on to a fun topic next. But I think the people out there want to hear more about paper and lace. Obviously, it's a company that we've been working with now for a couple of months, and we're proud to have them on board and happy to offer you something exclusive because you listen to the Sons of UCF. Good for you.
That's right. My sister Michelle's company, Paper and Lace, she makes the best wedding invitations in the land. Go to her website, paperandlaceboutique.com. Check out all the different invitations she can make for you. Give her a call, 954-597-6426. Tell her you heard about it on the Sons of UCF. She gives you 10% off your first order. I know a lot of you guys probably going to be looking for wedding invitations soon. I know there's a bunch of people that just got engaged. Actually, our friend Monica, who does is in charge, was one of the people that is running the 5K race. She just got engaged last week too, herself. So,
oh wow!
Congratulations to her.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So, maybe some more wedding invitations in the future for her.
And look, you guys all know Valentine's Day coming up. It's another one of those days, Mike, where if you've got that special someone in your life, maybe this is the day you want to memorialize that commitment and go down the engagement trail. And then after you do that, you're going to need invitations. So if you're listening to this now and you got that ring in your pocket, you got it in your drawer, wherever you keep that thing. Don't keep it in your pocket, by the way. Not a good idea. Put it someplace safe. And after you bust that ring out and you get that big yes, then you say to yourself, Paper and Lace. I'm so glad I listened to Sons UCF. See, we're here for you.
and they're going to be fantastic. When people get these things in the mail, they're going to know what they're going to is just going to be a spectacular wedding. It's what you deserve, wedding invitations, what your wife has always dreamed about. She wants everything about that day to be perfect, and it starts with the invitations a couple of months beforehand.
Well, get on that now. Get engaged and get invitations, and you'll be happier for it. But coming up, Mike, we're going to take a bit of a break, but top fives are so popular around here these days. Why not just make it a segment? All right, great idea. Don't move.
This is UCF head football coach Gus Malzahn, and you should listen to the Sons of UCF like your hair is on fire. Go Knights and charge on.
Mike, top five. You have taken the top fives to a whole nother level. I mean, we've done karaoke. We've done what types of like condiments. I feel like we've done it. We got a JP Gilbert Twitter top five and his top five Twitter pictures that he puts in response to tweets. The top five stuff is just taking off, Mike. So we might as well just make this our own segment, particularly in the months where there's not a lot going on. Again, we've only got some basketball stuff going on. None of the other sports have started yet here for the spring. So we got some downtime, Mike. And a story caught my eye this week that I think is a perfect candidate for a top five. UCF announced that they are going to be one of the schools partnering exclusively with a couple of vendors, including Fanatics, to sell jerseys with the name on back of current players as part of an NIL deal. And obviously those players will reap the money from it. So it will be a way for certain players to gain income based off their jersey sales, based off of this unique situation UCF has gotten into. Like a really cool thing right now, you can actually make some money off a jersey. Seems like a really good idea, right?
Definitely. I think a lot of fans have been looking forward to this day for a long time. So
got us to thinking. Top five list, Mike. Let's do this a couple different ways. So we're going to start off old school first. So for those who are new around here, Mike and I graduated in 2002. We were there for the end of the Dante era, and obviously we've been following UCF ever since, Mike. So I need from you, if this NIL deal was available for every single solitary football player, athlete throughout the entire time of UCF history, anyone's available now. You can buy anybody's jersey. I need UCF Mike's personal top five jerseys that he would like to purchase. So you could go any way with this, right? It could be the popular ones. It could be just maybe your favorite players. But I need the exclusive top five UCF Mike jerseys that he would purchase as part of this NIL deal. Do you have that ready for me? Is there any chance I can get that from you?
Yeah, I can get you a top five. No, I got some, I don't know if you want to call them rules or whatever it is.
Okay.
But I already have a few of these jerseys. I don't know if I'm going to put these on the list because I already have them.
Okay.
Like Mackenzie Milton, I have a jersey of his already. I have a Schneider jersey. I have just a generic number 1 jersey. I have a Godfrey number 2 gold. So I didn't put any of those on the list because I already have those.
Okay.
Is that okay with you?
That's fine with me.
All right. So
it's your top five. How can I argue with your top five?
There's some great ones out there. You already mentioned, I don't think you could have a collection without Dante, number 8, right? The original.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about the plain black UCF jersey. Just looks like a practice jersey.
Well, that's a good distinction. So the way I thought about this is I want the jersey from the era in which the player played. Right, so I want the jersey that Dante wore, that style of jersey, the jersey that obviously the team wears now. Obviously, Bortles wore a different jersey with the tuxedo collar. There was the Latavius Murray that had like the line that drew around the back. So I'm thinking the actual jersey that the players wore. So that's how I'm thinking about this.
Yes, that has to be the way. You cannot get a Dante Space Game jersey. That just does not work.
Does not work.
Right?
Okay.
There were no Space Games back then.
None.
Not allowed.
Where was space? There was no space back then.
I see you walking around the stadium next year with a 24K Space Game. I'm just going to laugh in your face.
Okay.
Right?
It could have been worse.
I don't like it.
All right. So it's your top 5. Is Dante number 5 for you then? Is that what you're saying?
I didn't number them this way.
Well,
Sure.
do you know how the top 5 lists work, Mike? Do we need to refresh the audience on how top 5s go or no?
Yeah. We make it up as we go. So Dante's on the list. Let's put it that way.
I've got mine ready. If you're not ready, I can. If you need a minute to filibuster, I can give you my top 5.
I have to make another rule.
Okay.
Rules.
All right.
You talk about the jersey has to be the way these
Sure.
guys wore them at that time.
Yeah.
There was a long period there when O'Leary was the coach. There were no names allowed on the back of the jersey.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't have a 24K jersey with the name Smith on the back.
That's
because
fine.
he never wore one.
That's fine.
Name Smith on the back.
Yep.
Right.
But the real
Same thing
ones
with
no.
Bortles.
The real ones no.
Right. So if I'm going to make a top 5 list of the ones I want,
Yeah.
you got to give me Dante.
Okay.
Give me number 5, Dante.
Boom.
Give me this one. Not a lot of people are going to have.
Okay.
Maybe you will. Our guy, Alex Haynes, number 4.
Spoiler alert. Okay.
You like that one?
Yeah.
How about Shakeem Griffin,
Good one.
number 18.
Yep.
And I'll get them in different colors too. So if I'm going Dante with the black jersey, give me the Shakeem in white, the same ones we wore in the Peach Bowl. Put the Peach Bowl patch on it.
Mhm.
It looks nice.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3. That was number 3, right?
Sure was.
Yeah, Haynes was 4.
Yep.
Number 3. Number 2.
Yep. we're there.
And he was number 2. Otis.
Oh.
You gotta give me an Otis one. Get it in the pewter color, just because I think it looks good in that color.
Yeah.
And I think his first real breakout game was against Navy that year in 2017.
Yep.
So give me the pewter jersey for Otis. And number 1, give me 24K in gold, no name on the back. Just the old school, like 2007 game against Texas to open the stadium, Kevin Smith jersey.
That's a darn good top 5 list, Mike. That's a really good top 5 list. I struggle with my top 5 because obviously there are some jerseys that represent iconic players at UCF. So I've got those on my list, Mike. So I've got a 1, 2, 3. I've got a 4-way tie for number 5. So that's my top 5. I have a 4-way tie for number 5.
That's
so
how you got around me.
That's how we get around. So my number 5s include the number 4 Alex Haynes jersey, the aforementioned Alex Haynes jersey, one of my favorite players at UCF, just a hard-nosed running back. My second number 5 is the Joe Burnett number 19 jersey. Smokin' Joe, one of the legends of UCF, did so much at UCF. Again, with all the other great players, I think sometimes his name gets bumped down the list just a little bit. But Smokin' Joe, you got to have a Smokin' Joe jersey, Mike. We talked about this guy in our interview coming up, Mike. The number 28 Asante Samuel jersey. I think that's an interesting one. He very well may be the first Pro Bowl or Hall of Famer from UCF to obviously get the NFL. He's got that iconic jersey with the black with the little gold neckline trim there. So give me the Asante jersey as my third number 5. And my fourth number 5, I've always just liked this guy, and I have no idea why he sticks out to me. But Adrian Killins. Give me a number 9 Adrian Killins. I feel like he was the guy in my mind who sort of kick-started this whole UCF fast thing, right? I remember he was one of the first recruits to come on board in 2016 with the Scott Frost offense. So when I think about like the UCF resurgence, for some reason, Adrian Killins always comes up to me first from a name standpoint. So give me that. Those are my number 5s, Mike.
You only get 4 number 5s, huh?
That's fantastic. Number 4, I'm glad you asked, Mike. Number 4, Give me the number 6 Brandon Marshall jersey. Probably another one that a lot of people don't really have. Again, he's going to have the no name on back jersey. Really, they only came in 2 colors back then, the white and the piss yellow. But give me the number 6 Brandon Marshall jersey.
Yeah, classic from the Hawaii Bowl.
Yeah. Number 3, I don't have this one yet, and I would love to have one of these. Give me the number 10 Mackenzie Milton jersey. Obviously, I think that's a must-have for any UCF fan. I don't have any of the Mackenzie jerseys. I would probably take it in, for some reason, I would like that one in the I guess it's the anthracite. Maybe it's the pewter. The one that, I think it's the pewter, the one we wore in the conference championship game against Memphis. For some reason, that's the jersey that I'd want of Mackenzie. I think the black one's iconic. Maybe the black nitro head from Black Friday Cows game. But give me the 10 from the Memphis championship game.
Do you want my cursed Mackenzie Milton jersey that I can't wear anymore?
I don't want your curses in my life, Mike. Number 2, Shakeem Griffin. You got to go Shakeem Griffin. I actually think I'd want the white one, the Peach Bowl variety jersey. I think that would be the way I'd remember Shakeem is with the Peach Bowl. So give me the number 18 Shakeem jersey. And the number 1 jersey, even though I already kind of have one, is the Dante Culpepper. Again, I want the vintage black with that collar on it. I think that would be fantastic. That's my personal top 5 if I could now go back and get any jersey list.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many guys to pick from, which makes this even cooler. Another guy I had on my list, you mentioned Asante, I had him on here too. Bortles, number 5. How about Bruce Miller?
Yeah, I thought about that too, yeah.
Number 49 is not a number you see very often. Again, too, if you're wearing a jersey, and I've always had this rule, if you're a big dude, if you're a big fat guy, you can't wear like a single-digit number. You got to get one of the offensive lineman jerseys. Get yourself Josh Sitton, number 70 or something like that. You got to play the part that you're just born to play.
Yeah.
You can't you can't be
rocking
wearing
number
a
1
Asante jersey if you're 300 pounds. Right.
Yeah. So the number, I guess number 6 on my list, which is really number 10 if you do my math, was another one that I debated with, just because if you're a deep UCF fan, this one means a lot to you, is the iconic number 39 Javier Borlegi jersey.
Yeah.
Again, a deep cut, really deep cut, yeah.
Friend of the program was just on a couple weeks ago. I did think about that one too.
Yeah.
And everybody knows the kick and everything. So
maybe we should have done an obscure jersey list. Maybe the guys that you don't know about, you know?
In that same vein, I was thinking about Franco Grillo jersey. To be honest, I don't even know what number he wore.
I saw that. I looked him up. Number 1.
Who was number 1?
Pretty sure, yeah.
So I have a Franco Grillo jersey. It's just
hey, Mazel Tov. There you go. Fantastic. All right. Well, so that's old school, Mike. Now let's do the prediction. So let's think about this, the roster that we have right now. So this is obviously when this thing is going into effect. So we're going to give you our top 5's current UCF jersey sales. And this is more of a prediction. Who do we predict are going to have the top 5 jersey sales when this thing comes out, which again is eligible for guys that are on the team this year, Mike. So I need your top 5 predictions of the jerseys that'll be there. We'll do this. We'll both do it at the same time. So we'll go number 5. We'll both give our answer, and then 4, and then so on and so forth. Right. So predicting the current jerseys, who do you think will be the 5th highest selling jersey?
All right. Give me Jalen Robinson, number
Wow.
1. 1, because it's a number that, a lot of people like to wear number 1 jerseys. 2, Jalen obviously is a big-time player. Last year, with some injuries, didn't really get as much playing time, but he's going to be a big part of this offense going forward. A lot of people already know who he is, so it's a name you know, right?
Yep.
And I think that'd be the number 5 on my list.
All right, I'm going to go number 5 on my list. I'm going with Mikey Keene, now a new jersey number. He changed the jersey number 13. I'm going to give Mikey Keene number 5. Quarterbacks always sell well. I think there'll be some nostalgia based on how well Mikey played last season. So I suspect Mikey cracks the top 5 for me. So I'm going to give Mikey Keene the number 5 spot.
That's fair. You may see him on my list somewhere.
Number 4, who do you got?
Number 4. This guy just changed his jersey number going into next year, maybe to spike up some hype in his jersey sales. But Johnny Richardson, now number 0.
Mm-hmm.
And Johnny's a big part of this offense too. Offensive guys are just going to get more glory, especially when it comes to jersey sales. These are the guys scoring the touchdowns most of the time. So give me Johnny Richardson in the number 4 spot.
It's a good one. I went off the board a little bit. This is breaking a lot of rules, but I think that this will actually work. My number 4 jersey sale, give me the iconic number 73 Sam Jackson jersey. Sam's been there for a long time. He's a fan favorite. Everyone loves Sam Jackson. He's been just a good ambassador for Night Nation. He's got a good following on social media. Offensive line jerseys are typically not your moneymakers, but I think he's a name you know at UCF. So I'm going to say Sam cracks the top 5 at number 4 in jersey sales.
Like I said, you got to be a big guy.
I know. I know the rules. Yeah.
You can't do the reverse. The reverse doesn't work either. If you only weigh 110 pounds, you can't go offensive line in jersey.
I understand the rules. I'm prepared to live with those rules.
All right, my number 3. I have 2 number 3s. Like you had 4 number 5s in the line, but
Yeah.
I have 2 number 3s because it depends. It depends on who the starting quarterback is. Is it Mikey Keene with the number 13, or is it John Rice Plumlee, number 10? Now, I don't know if people are going to want to buy the number 10 as much because, they associate the 10 with Milton. But we've seen this kid Plumlee speak now at a press conference. We've seen him come in here, and it looks like he's going to be this charismatic guy that people are going to fall in love with, and especially if he plays well. I could see him selling some jerseys, but it really is going to depend on whoever's starting the quarterback. Give me that guy at number 3.
Well, great minds think alike, Mike. My number 3 selling jersey is the number 10 of John Rice Plumlee, because I do think that if he becomes the starting quarterback, if he plays well, if he has, we saw what he can do running the football. We know how much people love that. We saw him in front of the podium. He seemed like a very well-spoken, very good with the media. Seemed like a charming young man. I think he's one that if he plays well, UCF will fall in love with him in a hurry. Obviously, he's also a baseball player, so maybe there's some crossover. You can wear that jersey if you want to go watch him play baseball. So he's a big name, an SEC guy. If he comes out and plays well early on, I think his sales go through the roof. So I'm going to go John Rice Plumlee as the number 3 jersey on my pick.
Yeah, if this kid can get eligible to play baseball this season, which he's trying to do, he can really start building up that fan base early. And comes out, has a nice baseball season, and people get to see him, maybe get to hear from him more in interviews. His future is pretty bright here at UCF, so let's see what he can do. Number 2 for me,
yeah,
and we got to have the same top 2, I would think,
yeah,
the way we've narrowed this down. But number 2, give me Isaiah Bowser, number 5 jersey. He's been he was probably the best player we had on offense last year, though he did miss a lot of time. When he was in there, you knew we were going to run the ball. It didn't matter, and he still ran it down your throats, and we won a lot of games because of him. And he's become a fan favorite. You saw the Mario Brothers Bowser character on the Jumbotron and all that stuff. So people love this kid, and I think he's going to sell a lot of jerseys. And number 5 is a cool number that a lot of people like too.
I agree wholeheartedly. Bowser is number 2 on my list for that number 5 as well. Again, he's going to get the ball a bunch. He's he's a guy who proved himself to be a really dominant running back when he was healthy. With Gus's system, you're going to see a lot of him. It's a cool number. It's a cool name. He seems like a nice kid. So I think Bowser is a clear-cut number 2, Mike. And I think you and I probably both have the number 1 selling jersey in our opinion, but I'll let you break the news to everybody. Number 1 and next year, your prediction is who?
That's right. Number 69, Paul Rudolph.
There we go.
Big offensive lineman.
Yes.
Who's not going to get one of those?
It's fair.
He was at OLI.
Yes.
Outside looking in on this list, but
Yeah.
very close. Ryan O'Keefe.
Okay.
Number 4.
That's it.
The guy had the signature play last year against the Gators in the Gasparilla Bowl, and a great season. He was the offensive MVP for us because he did play in all the games, and just is at prime now to have an even bigger year this season coming up. He's seen development the last couple of years. People know the name. People know the number. People know him for giving the peace sign on his way into the end zone now. He has cemented himself as I don't want to say UCF legend, but he can do that if he comes back now next year and has an even bigger season. He can be one of these guys that we talk about, like the old school guys, the Dante, 24K, the Otis's and Bortles and those guys. O'Keefe can put his name right up there with those guys and make that number 4 a top selling jersey, number one selling jersey this year.
Yeah, I agree, and that's a number that it's pretty common. A lot of people wore that number. Traquan Smith wore it at UCF, so it's a number that people will know. And I think you are absolutely right, Mike. I do have a couple of OLIs I was going to share with you. I tried to think of a defensive player to put on this list. I really racked my brain. All I came up with was Devad Wilson's number 9 as an option. I think he's a name. He's somebody that people like a lot. I feel like none of the interior guys on the line are going to be there. Tremont Moore's brash was maybe a possibility. I didn't want to say this Terence Lewis kid because I don't even know yet what he's going to be about. Although he wears number 10, so maybe there's a crossover there with Plumlee. Who knows? And really, my sleeper OLI was Colton Boomer's number 35 jersey. I mean, Boomer's a funny name. It's a sort of a pop culture thing these days. If you're a kicker and you play well, and you can put Boomer on your back, I feel like that's a good option. If he's the guy, he may be my dark horse OLI, or maybe sneaks into that 5 spot.
It's possible. We talked about Borlegi being a cool jersey. If Boomer comes in and hits a game winner, a big time spot next year, or anytime in the next couple of years, he could have one of these jerseys that people really want to see. And he looks like another kid. We had him on the live show. A very, very good kid, nice personality. He's got the hair. Chicks dig that stuff. He may sell a bunch of jerseys himself.
Who would your defensive pick be if you had to pick a defensive guy?
Whew. First thing came to mind was Ricky Barber. He's got that number 5. At least it's a cool number. He could be a big-time player in the middle, but it's hard. Yeah, typically defensive guys, you're looking at cornerbacks, maybe a shutdown corner, or somebody that's going to get a lot of sacks, right? Interceptions and sacks is what people draw themselves to in defense. Big Cat's gone, so I guess Moore's brash would be an option. Seliscar, I love that guy. He's got a weird number for a defensive lineman, though, 88. Yeah. I don't know if I'd want to get one of those.
Yeah.
So, people will think you're like a wide receiver or a tight end when you wear that. So, I don't know. Defense is tough. You're right. Defense is a tough one. Hopefully somebody breaks out and establishes themselves next year as the leader on the defense.
Well, we will see. That's how Mike and I are going to get let's get on eBay and see if we can buy some of these old school jerseys, Mike. While we do that, you guys enjoy this little commercial break. Coming up, though, one of a handful of guys who has gone from UCF into the NFL to have a really good career, particularly in the early days of UCF. He joins us to tell us a little bit about his story and what he's going to be doing this Sunday. Don't go anywhere. Our exclusive interviews coming up next.
This is UCF Athletic Director Terry Maher, and in my spare time, when I'm not on TikTok, I'm listening to Adam and Mike on the Sons of UCF. Go Knights and charge on!
All right, we'll have Rashad Jeanty in just a second, Mike, but we told you off the top of the show that support for the Sons of UCF is now brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming champions of the world. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched their 4th-generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, Mike, the 4.0. Over 4 million men worldwide trust Manscaped, and with this exclusive offer for you, 20% off of free worldwide shipping with the promo code SonsOfUCF at manscaped.com. Guys, imagine shaving with a sleek, well-designed, optimized trimmer that makes shaving time your favorite time in the bathroom. I'm one of the first people that Mike and I both have tried this new 4.0, and we're blown away by the performance, the craftsmanship, the details are on a 4.0 type of next level. Mike, I know you love this thing, and it's I don't want to tell everybody your business, but I feel like it's changed your life a little bit.
It definitely has, and for the better. I just started using the Manscaped product, and I can't even be more happy. It reminded me of one time before the Manscaped, where there was a bit of an accident. You use it, and this is not an area where you want to have accidents, obviously. No. You can hurt your balls that way, and that's what happened to me one time. You nick yourself with one of these razors, and the bleeding, it scares you. It's a scary time in a man's life, and you cut yourself down there. You go in the shower, and there's blood dripping all over the place. It's not fun, and if you have to put a Band-Aid in that area, that's no fun either. Right.
That's a tough rip-off. Tough rip-off, yeah.
Not what you want to do. But now with the Manscaped, I don't even worry about that anymore. right? I go in there. I have full confidence that I'm going to not have any issues.
Mm-hmm.
The Manscaped takes care of all that. I love the light that's on there. It gives you an extra while you're grooming yourself. You can see things a lot better. That's probably going to help avoid cuts more than anything.
Yeah.
But the machine itself, I feel the utmost confidence in using now. Everybody's happier now because of it. I'm happier. My wife's happier. So great, fantastic product. I can't wait to use it again.
It's got that skin safe technology, Mike. Everyone should feel comfortable. It also allows you to customize the length. So there's guard lengths in this thing, folks. If you doing something different, you want a little length in your life, that's fine. You got 1 to 4 guard options. You got a wireless charger in there. And by the way, if you're using the same razor or the same shaver on your balls as your face, you're just doing it wrong. There's just something wrong with that as an entire philosophy. So it's time to get your own specific trimmer. Again, go to Manscaped. You get 20% off free shipping with the code Sons of UCF at manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you. Your wife will thank you. Your girlfriend will thank you. Everybody will thank you. Valentine's Day is coming up. This is the right time to do something nice for that lady in your life, Mike. And it's not just trimmers, by the way. They have all kinds of products. They have creams, they have lotions, they have deodorants, they have travel bags. They have a lot of cool stuff if you go to their website. Again, you can get 20% off and free shipping with the code Sons of UCF at manscaped.com. 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use code Sons of UCF. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Now, let's talk to Rashad Jeanty. All right, Rashad, first off, thanks so much for taking the time to join us. Let's start here with your UCF career. I read someplace that back in those days, and you're not that old, but the recruiting stuff has changed a ton since you were in high school. Miami Herald had you listed as the 14th best player in the nation at a high school. But again, those were different times. There was a whole different, atmosphere. There were no, online, scouting tapes. There were none of this rivals or 24/7 stuff. So, as the 14th ranked prospect in the nation, according to the Miami Herald, how crazy was your entire recruitment period?
It was crazy. I don't think it was too crazy. But it was crazy just because, I didn't have anyone to lean on to as far as to ask questions. Basically, someone who's been there before. So I was kind of learning everything on the fly. But at the end of the day, it worked out well.
Did you know you were the number 14th player in the nation? Was that something that you were talked about, or were you as surprised as anybody else when you read that in the newspaper?
I'm actually still surprised, especially some of the guys who I didn't know initially. I think I found out in college or maybe when I was in Canada. But I didn't know, and it's crazy because, I often read the paper, especially in high school. But initially I didn't know. I found out a couple years later, and I was shocked, surprised. And I still got that feeling today, like, wow. You know what I mean?
Well, obviously, your recruitment came down to the wire. I heard someplace you were deciding between UCF and Virginia Tech. So what made UCF the right choice for you?
To be honest, it was Coach Huff. Coach Huff was my defensive line coach at the time. And, it came down to relationships. And he made me feel at home. He kind of had that father figure vibe going on. With me growing up without my father, which he passed away when I was 4 years old. So I think that played a big part of it, as well as, my recruiting trip. When I came to UCF, we had guys like Jonathan Morgan, who was a tight end at UCF, as well as Damian Dimps, who was also he was a safety at UCF. But we all went to the same high school, even though those guys was older than me. Those guys were state champions at my high school, at Miami Carol City High School, and those were some of the guys that I looked up to while I was in high school. So to see those guys there at UCF at the time, it just was the right place for me.
Well, I also heard someplace that when you signed that letter of intent with UCF, that Virginia Tech was not happy with you. Can you tell us that story, kind of how Virginia Tech reacted to you going to UCF?
Dude, the defensive line, the defensive line coach cursed me out, man. He couldn't believe it. And at the time, I didn't understand why he was so angry. But if you guys remember back then, 2000, 2001, that's when I came out of high school. Virginia Tech was was at top. They were the Georgias of today. That's when they had Michael Vick and Kevin Jones at running back. That team was like one of the best teams in the nation, if not the best team in the nation. So for me to choose UCF, little old UCF, over one of the top programs in America, he wasn't too happy about that.
Everybody sees the facilities now that we have. We have the new stadium on campus, all that, but we didn't have any of that back then. Tell us about the facilities you played in. What did you think about playing in the Citrus Bowl back then?
I thought it was amazing, man. Coming from Miami, we got Trash House Stadium, which is like the iconic stadium down in Miami in the inner city of high school football. They call it the Mecca. Some of the greats that's in the NFL now, as well as in the past, played at that stadium. So, but going to UCF, that stadium was amazing to me. It was huge. You know what I mean? It was right off campus. Every time we had a game coming up, rolling up to the stadium, you see a lot of fans out. They got the RVs, the big UCF flags flying. It was amazing to me. I loved it.
What about our coaching staff back then? We had Gene Chizik was the defensive coordinator. Can you tell us a little about his style and what he was like to play for?
You know what, man? Gene Chizik. I respect Gene so much, man, because he's straightforward, man. He's a straight shooter. He don't care who you are. He coaches everyone the same. He coaches everyone hard. And as a player, you got to respect that. You know what I mean? Whether you're a walk-on who earned the scholarship or just a walk-on on the team, or maybe even a star player, everyone get the same treatment from Gene. And, practice had to be at a high level every day. That's something that he demanded. And I think that's a testament to where his career went, with going to Auburn and so on and so forth.
Yeah, now he's on social media a lot every day, putting out his words of chisdom and things like that. Do you remember anything or any time he got in your face, maybe for something you did wrong and kind of just, you say he was a tough coach to play for. You remember any incidents like that?
Yeah, I'm going to try to keep this light. This is one thing that I will never forget with Coach Chizik. We was in a defensive media room, and our practice wasn't, up to par. And he said, what did he say? He was like, guys, your concentration level is not really where it's at right now. It's about the size of my, it's about the size of my, you know what. You know what I mean? So hearing that as an 18, 19-year-old, 17-year-old, it was funny, but he definitely got his point across.
What was the relationship like between him and Cruz? Obviously, Cruz was an offensive guy, right? He had biceps the size of a semi-tanker. He was a pretty outspoken dude too. What was the relationship like between Gene Chizik and Mike Kruzak?
To be honest, I don't really know. I don't remember. I was just so young, just trying to focus on what I'm trying to focus on. So I didn't really have time to look at their relationship, but it seemed fine to me,
Well, how about for you? Did you expect to play as a true freshman? Did you think you would redshirt? Was there any talk about that as you were kind of going through your recruiting process?
Repeat that again. I'm sorry.
Did you think you were going to play as a true freshman, or was there any talk of you maybe redshirting as you were going through the recruiting process?
Man, you guys got some good questions. Man, with that, I thought it was the player's choice to redshirt or not. I thought it was our choice as players. I came in at UCF at 211 pounds. I will never forget that. So I just knew I was going to redshirt. I'm like super small, super light. And here we playing Clemson, the first game of the year, 2001 or 2002, whatever that year was. And I'm traveling. I'm playing. You know what I mean? I didn't start, but I was thrown in the fire. And I always remember, like, man, this is some bull crap. You know what I mean? Like, why am I here? Like, I'm a defensive end at 211 pounds. Like, this can't be legal right now. It can't be.
Well,
yeah.
You mentioned that Clemson game. To start that season off, we had a tough loss at Clemson and then a tough loss at Syracuse, right? Again, you're a kid who came from a storied high school program. You guys barely lost ever, right? Now you're 0-2 in your college career. Did you have to get used to not winning games? How hard was it for you as a competitor who was always so used to being on the winning end to start off kind of 0-2 and realize that it was a much tougher, much tougher league up at UCF than that you were used to in high school?
It was tough, and to be honest with you, I was going to transfer. I tried to transfer after that Clemson game. You know, Clemson, that game, that was the loudest stadium I ever been to, you know, to that point. And their stance is like right on our backs on the sideline. So we get cussed out by the fans. You know, they called in Atari Bigby, our safety at the time, Bob Marley. Hey, Bob, what are you doing? You know, he had the long dreads or whatever. And our sidelines was just a bunch of chaos. You know, Clemson got the momentum. And that's when I realized, like, man, momentum is really a thing in football because these fans going crazy. And it's like we kind of losing our mojo. We got teammates arguing on the sidelines, coaches going crazy. And I'm just looking around like, man, what the heck going on? Like, nah, I'm not used to this, man. Screw this. So to be honest with you, when we got back to Orlando, I called the defensive line coach at Virginia Tech. It was like, Coach, man, I made a mistake. True story. Like, Coach, I made a mistake, man. I want to come home. You know what I mean? And I didn't know. I thought that you could transfer like in high school, just transfer and that's it. You know, in college, in college, it's not like that. It's steps. You got a whole process to go through. So somehow the word got back to Coach Huff, my defensive line coach at UCF. And about 2-3 days later, Coach Huff gave it to me. he lit it into me, man. And I was just looking around, just in awe, like, how did you find out? Like, you know what I mean? But it was crazy, man, at first. But I'm glad that it worked out how it did. You know, the friendships of my teammates for my 2 years at UCF, I still talk to a lot of those guys today, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Well, you kind of got your wish a little bit because a couple of weeks after the Clemson game, we went to Virginia Tech for a game. Do you remember going into that game? Did you have any conversations with that coach before or after that game? And do you remember how you played that day?
Yeah, we spoke a little bit. We spoke a little bit before the game, and he was a lot nicer from after the conversation after I signed with UCF. And yes, I do remember that game. That's when Kevin Jones, I think he was a true freshman that year. He was a big time back. We lost that game, but we was in it, man. That's another thing, man. A lot of the big teams that we played in the past, you know, my 2 years at UCF, we played Clemson, Virginia Tech. We played Syracuse. We played Penn State. Like, we was really in all of those games. Like, we only lost by, like, 7-10 points. You know what I mean? So it's good to see now what the university's doing, winning these big games, you know, and winning bowl games, man. I think it's wonderful, and I think it's good for the city. So, yeah.
Yeah, that Clemson game, they beat us on a fake field goal or something, right? And they threw it in for a touchdown. There was a difference in the game.
Yeah, man. Another thing, Matt Prater was our kicker, our field goal kicker at the time, and he was a true freshman as well. And I forget, but he hit a 50-yarder, maybe a 52-yarder. It was a 50-something yarder. And I was like, dang, he a true freshman, man. He hit that thing right down the middle, like, you know what I mean, in a hostile environment as a true freshman. And I remember thinking, like, dang. You know, I never seen that before. High school, you know, we didn't kick field goals. We didn't really have a field goal kicker, but that was a testament to him and why he's, you know, made it to the NFL and currently still playing in the league. Matt Prater, man, that guy's amazing.
Yep. But your freshman year ended up being pretty good. You're in second team All-American honors. Was that something you had as a goal going into the season? Like you said, you didn't even think you were going to play. You were going to redshirt. But once you got the hang of it after a couple of weeks, did you think you were in for a big year?
No, that's another thing. I didn't even know about that until my sophomore year. Like, it's crazy. and the person who told me that was my high school teammate, Alfred Peterson. He was up in Rutgers. We came out of high school the same year. He signed with Rutgers, and he made the team as well. And he the one told me. I'm like, man, it's crazy. Why don't I know? You know what I mean? Well, I got to find out a year later. But to answer your question, no, I didn't know that, man. My only goal every year was to be accountable to my teammates. You know what I mean? I wanted to get their approval that they don't have to work. I want to get their approval for them to know that I'm gonna do my job. And that's just kind of how I was raised coming up in high school. Everyone do their job, and don't let your teammate down. In high school we had we practice. You how you have the track field and then the football field in the middle of the track field.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had to run across the track to get on the football field, but every time we ran across the track, we had to say, I will not let my teammate down. Every time, every day. And for 4 years. And that really stuck with me. Like, I will not let my teammate down. You know what I mean? And that was my goal every year. And I think when you have when you play with that type of mentality that you don't want to let your teammates down first and foremost, you're gonna earn your respect regardless. You know what I mean? Because that's who you're going to battle with, your teammates, and knowing that the guy beside you going to do his job, and you don't have to worry about anything. You know what I mean? I think that goes a long way.
Well, how about that offseason? So you mentioned as a true freshman, 211 pounds. You obviously had to gain a significant amount of weight and strength. What was your offseason like in between your freshman and sophomore year? Were you just eating and lifting weights all the time?
Yeah, but I just couldn't put on weight like that for some reason. I just couldn't put on weight like that. But I was a hard worker. It was more about will for me. And that was another thing from high school, like, break somebody's wheels, or don't let this guy break your wheel. You know what I mean? So the weight, I lost a lot of battles going against, Steve Edwards in practice every day, and guys like that. But I think I earned the respect from Steve Edwards as well as the other offensive linemen. That this guy's a ball player. Like he's still going to come. You know what I mean? He's still going to compete, and he's not going to back down. And that just comes from not letting someone break my will. And that's that old saying. It's not the size of a dog in a fight. It's the size of the fight in a dog. I think that's true. I believe in that wholeheartedly. And I think that can go a long way.
Well, back in those days, people, you think of college football now, everyone's throwing the football a ton and all this wide open offense. But back when you were there and Kruzek's offense, it was really one of the more, revolutionary offenses, throwing the ball a ton, just, slinging all over the yard. And you had to go against that in practice every day, obviously. How did that make you a better player? How did going against Kruzek's offense and kind of that up-tempo nature, did that help you kind of from a practice standpoint? Did it give you extra stamina, or was it kind of a challenge for you when you went onto the field on Saturdays and you played a team that had a different style offense all the time?
Well, my senior year in high school, I played nose tackle, believe it or not. So the physical side of playing college football as far as playing a run, I would stick my head in there. I would get down. I may lose a few battles here and there, but, I'm going to stick my head in there and play the run like I've, been bred to do in high school. But I'm also a pass rusher, at 211 pounds. That's pretty much what I was known for, rushing the passer. So with our offense and with Kruzek offense, that kind of helped me to get more rushes, to work on my craft, a lot more. So that definitely was beneficial to me, I believe, with Coach Kruzek offense running the ball, passing the ball, and Snyder slinging it all across the field, all day long. It really helped me in my progression as far as rushing the passer, for sure.
Did you ever want to get a free shot at Snyder during practice?
No, I was never that guy, who wanted to, only in games, you know what I mean? But in practice, I just wanted to get there. You know what I mean? As long as they know that I'm there, as long as I know that I'm there, that I beat the offensive lineman, then I'm cool with that. You know what I'm saying? in the game, and we know we can't get hit the quarterback in practice, but in the game, as long as I know I beat the offensive lineman, the rest is history once I get to the quarterback.
So in 2002, you're going into your second year. UCF is joining a conference for the first time. We're joining the MAC. You remember the hype leading into that, and was there any difference leading into that season among you guys? Like, you're going to be competing against certain teams that year?
Yeah, it was, because at that time, Byron Leftwich was the quarterback in Marshall in the MAC conference. And he was that guy, you know what I mean? He was being talked about across the country. You know, I believe he was a Heisman finalist, if I'm not mistaken. And, you know, we had to compete with that. And we played them actually up in West Virginia, Huntington, I believe. That's where Marshall's at. And it was a big game, man. It was an exciting game. They played on that hard carpet, though. I didn't really like that, playing on that hard carpet. But it was an exciting game. But I think we lost that game, man, by 7 points. Real close game, man, just going back and forth. They had a bunch of great receivers. You know, their offense was high potent. Of course, we had Snyder, you know, the gunslinger, slinging that thing across the ballpark, as well as Alex Haynes running the ball real tough. And we had a solid offensive line. You know, I think both offenses were pretty good offenses, and it just came down to the defense who could make the most stops. And unfortunately, they did at the end of the day. But there was excitement, to answer your question, going into the MAC. Now we in a conference, a new conference. And you got guys like I said, Byron Leftwich. And I think you had Charlie Fry as well, who played at Akron. And he was a high draft prospect. So we did beat those guys. They came down to Orlando, and we laid the smack down on their candy asses down in Orlando in the Citrus Bowl. So, but it was excitement, man. And I think we had a decent year. I remember playing West Virginia up in Kalamazoo, Michigan. We played West Virginia. That was a really hard, tough game. And they also had that hard carpet. I'm glad we don't have carpet no more. You know, that's some bad stuff. But anyway, Asante Samuel made the key interception towards the end of the game to pretty much seal the game. You know, so it was exciting to be in a conference and to have some sort of national exposure. You know, it was a good deal for us, the program, and players as well.
Yep, Ben Roethlisberger was over at Miami of Ohio at the time, too.
Oh, that's right. Yes, that's right. You know, I actually got a picture, man, with me sacking Roethlisberger up here in the Miami of Ohio, not knowing that he was going to be who he ended up being. You know, obviously a first ballot Hall of Famer, but yeah, that's pretty cool. And even back in college, he was hard to get down. I was on his back like a bear, like, dude, you got to fall. But
was it weird? Because we're a Florida team, obviously, and we're happy to be in any conference. But to play in the MAC, we're playing against all the teams in Michigan and all these teams up north, the cold weather games. Did that bother you at all?
Yes, it hurts, man. That Miami Ohio game, it was cold. It was so cold. It's probably less than 100 people in the stands. Like, didn't nobody want to be out there. It was cold. You know, and it hurts, man. It hurts. It's not fun at all. But, you know, some way, somehow, you got to find a way to get up and play the ball game. So, yeah.
Well, earlier that year, too, you guys played, you mentioned this earlier, you guys played Syracuse, another game where you guys were leading at halftime. You're leading at the end of the third quarter, ended up losing by 3 in the end. You mentioned it earlier, but how frustrating was it for you guys to continue to play these teams like, you know, very close and not come out with the win? As a team, who was kind of the leader of the group that was kind of like trying to keep you guys all together and make sure everything kind of turned out okay? Because I'm sure it could probably be pretty frustrating to keep fighting and scratching and clawing and never get that result.
Yeah, we had Tito Rodriguez. He was a big leader on defense. Guys like Larry Brown, defensive tackle, the McKibbins brothers. Those guys were the leaders on defense, Asante Samuels. But it was tough, you know what I mean? Like, we worked so hard, you know what I mean? And we want to get a victory from these nationally known teams, and to come up short, man, it's like, man, you know. But one thing I can say, man, we was all fighters. You know, we were a close-knit team. You know, we didn't have the NIL, so we all cooked together. played cards together. It was a lot of bond amongst us in the academic village where we stayed at on campus. So it was what it was, but I think it helped recruiting for one. Although we lost some big games against bigger teams, bigger well-known teams, the margin of loss I think really helped with recruiting and kind of got us where we are today. And I'm so happy for the university today and where they at. And thinking about where we came from, and even the guys before me, they I think it was 1999 or was it 2000 that team beat Alabama. I wasn't there at the time. Even guys from that era, the 1990s. Obviously Dante Culpepper and those guys. It's we all proud, man. We all proud to represent our school today. And watch these kids do their thing and just kind of reminisce that, man, we kind of play a part in this. You know what I mean? So it's special. It's special.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned some of your defensive teammates. I think people forget some of the talent that you guys had on defense while you were there, at least those last couple of years. Asante Samuel, Elton Patterson, you mentioned Atari Bigby. How nasty was that defense? I think it's probably one of the when you think about UCF and all the great players, I think it's almost criminally underrated that people forget how good that defense really was and how much talent you guys had on defense back then.
Yeah, Travis Fisher as well.
Yeah.
Travis Fisher was a second-round pick. Obviously Asante Samuel being a 4th-round pick, Elton Patterson going the 7th round. But when you gotta win at the end of the day to get that notoriety. That's just the way it is. We and you gotta win the big games. And sometimes when you don't do that, you kind of get overlooked, so to speak. So I think that was the situation with us. But we knew who we had and what we was capable of. We just kind of fell short in some of the meaningful games that would allow us to be a little bit known more nationally. But we knew what we had, and we played tough, man. And hopefully, we made the community proud, and the students and the whole university. Hopefully, we made them proud with our efforts, and yeah, man. Hopefully, made them proud, man. I think we did. A lot of those games, like I said, man, tough losses, man, close losses. Going to Penn State up in Napa Valley? What they call it?
Happy Valley.
Happy Valley, yeah, man. Going up there and losing by, I think it was 7 points, man.
There was 3.
Man, we were just 3 points. Man.
Yeah.
It was so close, man. But you got to find a way to win at the end of the day. And that's when they had Larry Johnson at running back. I think Larry Johnson rushed for 2,000 yards that year, if I'm not mistaken. They had a really good team, and we was right there. But sometimes being right there is not enough. But now we really there. Where the university's at now, and we got to continue to grow and continue to recruit, and I think we'll be all right.
Well, talk about Asante Samuel for a second. Here's a guy who's probably, arguably, should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and I think he had a Hall of Fame NFL career as well. Could you tell back then that he was going to be the player he turned out to be? Were you able to see that in him? Was he just that kind of dog in practice and in games and whatnot? Did you foresee that he would end up being the pro that he was?
I didn't know, to be honest with you. I knew Western Michigan game when he got that interception. I just knew I loved him because our backs were kind of to the wall. They had the momentum, and he made a huge play, man, a huge interception that led us to win the game. But to be honest with you, man, I was so naive at the time. I didn't know Atari Bigby was as good as he was. I knew he was a hard hitter. Even Travis Fisher, man, he was a 2nd-round pick. But I couldn't tell you that he was that good just because I was just so focused on, just so young and just so focused on, making sure I do what I have to do, on the field. So that's your question. No, I didn't know. I didn't know they was that good. I couldn't tell you that Asante Samuel was going to have the type of career that he had in the NFL. He had an amazing career. And even Travis Fisher, I mean, he played, 9 years? That's amazing, man. That's amazing. So, to answer your question, though, no, I didn't know.
So, the end of that season, 2002, we finished 7-5. Going into the 2003 season, it looks like the team is going to, be poised to do some big things that year.
But you ended up not coming back. You only played 2 years at UCF. What ended up happening there at the end?
To be honest with you, I flunked out of school. And this is something that's not talked about, I think, and not just me, but just not talked about enough. Like, when I'm just being brutally honest with you guys. When I went to UCF, that was the first time that I've seen like white people. Growing up in Miami. Now, this may sound strange, but it's just the facts. And it's not an excuse either, but I'm just, giving it to you honestly. Growing up in Miami is, we got obviously several different nationalities of people, but I grew up around Cubans, the Puerto Ricans, and of course the blacks, Jamaicans, Haitians, and, Bahamians. But going to UC, it was like a culture shock. I felt like I didn't belong there. And me at the time being so naive, like I didn't know how to ask for help. You know what I mean? I felt weird walking on campus around. I felt I was being looked at a certain way, but it was all me. You know what I mean? Not being sure of myself, not being comfortable, in my skin, and I think it's a lot of players who, I ain't gonna say a lot. I think it's some players who experience that. I'm pretty sure it is. I never really talked to other players to ask them if they experienced anything like that, but I just didn't want to be around. I didn't go to class, man. I flunked out. And I had some things going on at home. We lost our house, so my sophomore year actually, when everyone was going out on spring break, on that Friday, the last day of class, Wednesday, I got a call, from my mom saying that we lost the house. You know what I mean? So nothing mattered. School didn't matter. Nothing mattered, at the time. And pretty much I lost my cards that was dealt to me. You know what I mean? I didn't take advantage of a free scholarship, a free education, as far as school-wise. And that's what happened. You know what I mean? I flunked out of school. And hopefully, if any kids may be listening to this podcast, don't be afraid to ask for help, because that was my pitfall. I was afraid to ask for help, when I had all the help around me that I needed. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much what happened to me.
So the team didn't require you guys to go to study hall or anything like that? I think they do that now.
Yeah, hey, listen, I went to every study hall. You know what I mean? I had my book bag. I had my books, notepad. But I'm not doing nothing in there. I'm just looking in there. I don't even know what to study because I ain't even go to class. You know what I mean? So that's just being brutally honest. It's something I'm not proud of. It's something that I accept, though. It's part of my story. I'm not, like I said, it's something that I'm not proud of. I kind of regret it, but I don't. But actually, I do regret it because I should have got that scholarship. I should have got that degree. You know what I mean? That's what you go to school for, and that's the most important thing at the end of the day, is to get that degree. So, but I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason, and I just move forward, learn from my mistakes, and move forward accordingly.
Right. So it took you a little bit longer to get to the NFL. You went to Canada first. You played in Edmonton, right? Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah. So, I flunked out 2002. Once we went to spring break, I couldn't come back to UCF. So my only option was to go to an NAIA school. I didn't know what the hell NAIA was. You know what I mean? So, long story short, my defensive line coach who recruited me, Coach Charlie Huff, he had a connection. He knew somebody in Edmonton, guy named Mr. Jones, Paul Jones. He was the general manager at Edmonton. And it was crazy because one day I didn't go to class, and I went to the remember they had a college practice, like an all-star practice at the Citrus Bowl. Back then it was like the USA versus Florida. But anyway, Asante Samuel was in that practice, and then me and EP, Elson Patterson, went there, and Coach Huff was there. He's like, son, aren't you supposed to be in class? I was like, no, Coach already went to class, But anyway, we there, whatever. He was actually with Paul Jones at the time, the general manager of Edmonton, the Eskimos. And he introduced me to him. I didn't know who he was. I just kind of shook his hand, like just kind of waiting to see practice or whatever. Just shook his hand, spoke a little bit, and that was it. But kind of find out that guy who hand I shook was the general manager for the team that I played for, the Edmonton Eskimos. Now, my defensive line coach, Coach Huff, didn't say that he was the general manager of, a CFL team. He just said, this Paul Jones, Mr. Jones, this Rashad Jeanty. He just shook hands, and that was it. But I think now in hindsight that Coach Huff knew that I wasn't going to be back at UCF, and he made that connection. I didn't know at the time, but he made that connection as far as us shaking hands, and the rest was history. So with that being said, really quick, you never know who you meet. That's why you need to always be respectful to each and every one, because you just never know who you meet and what you could do for each other. That first impression goes a long way, and I'm glad that I was raised the right way to be respectful to each and every one, and it paid off.
Yeah, because who knows? You don't get that break. Maybe you never make it to Cincinnati. You end up playing for the Bengals.
Right.
Tell us about the day you found out you're going to play in the NFL. Your dreams finally come true. What's that like?
It was amazing, man. I can remember, I think it was the second week of in training camp. And I had a bad blister. I had a bad blister on the ball of my foot. It's right. It was to the white meat. And here I am undrafted, practicing hard. They got the undrafted guys taking all the reps. You pretty much the look man. You know what I mean? You're giving everyone looks. And it's two-a-days back then, brutally hot in Georgetown, Kentucky, where we had training camp. And after one practice, after coach broke us down, I got on the knee, man. I got on the knee and I cried. And I was questioning myself, like, man, like, is this worth it, man? Like, is this really worth it? Like, and at that time I wasn't getting no phone calls, no one calling to see how you doing. It was none of that. You just out there by yourself, and it was just a brutal day, just crazy hot, humidity, just hard practice. And it's been like that since day one of training camp, you know what I mean? But that second week, it's just like, man, just feel like you got hit by a bus. And I wanted to quit, man. I was just questioning myself, and I never questioned myself regarding football, and if this is something I wanted to do. And I questioned myself, like crying, just tears coming down, man. And like, man, is this really worth it? Like, this is hard. Like, after a while, I thought, that I worked so hard to get here. Like, why quit now? Like, it's supposed to be hard. You know what I mean? Like, if it wasn't hard, like, anybody could do it. So, after having that conversation with myself, I kind of find the will to push through. And I ultimately made the team.
Well, you had
played for a couple of years there too. Good, nice little career too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you had a nice career in Cincinnati, and obviously they're in the news right now, Rashad, because for those who maybe are living under a rock, they're going to play in the Super Bowl, which is coming up this weekend. Again, you're a Cincinnati guy. Assume that's the team you're pulling for. I'm undecided on who I think is going to win the Super Bowl this year. So can you talk me into why you think Cincinnati is going to win the Super Bowl?
Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow. I think it was too. It's tough, man, because that LA Rams team, man, that defense, man, it's amazing. That defensive line, they got the secondary, back there. Like, it's going to be tough, man. Obviously, our offensive line, it's probably not one of the best offensive lines that in the league, but we in the Super Bowl, so they got to be doing something right. You know what I mean? But I think if we can contain just a little bit, the Rams defensive line, their front seven, I like our chances. I think also McPherson, our kicker from Florida, the rookie kicker, I think he's going to be amazing. He's been amazing all year. And I think Joe Burrow and McPherson, I think those two guys, I ain't gonna say primarily the reason why we are where we are, but they are a major reason. It was when we played the Chicago Bears. Joe Burrow had like 3 or 4 interceptions, just crazy interceptions, throwing right to the Chicago Bear guys. And I was pissed off that game. Like, damn, Joe, what are you doing, dude? You're throwing right to him. Like, But he needed that game. He needed that game, and I'm glad it happened when it happened. I think we played the Bears like week 3. So now that's out of his system. He was able to watch that film and see the mistakes that he made, and him being who he is, the mature, cool, calm, collective guy. You haven't seen that since. You know what I mean? And as well as McPherson, our kicker, we played the Green Bay Packers early in the year. And I don't know if you guys remember, we was going back and forth for the field goal kickers. These guys missed a combined like 8, 9 field goals. It was like going back and forth. You guys remember that? I don't know if you do.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that was a pivotal moment for McPherson. He was making kicks early in the year, but now he faced some adversity. Missing field goals to win the game. He missed multiple field goals to win the game, and we eventually lost the game. I think that was a pivotal moment for him, you know what I mean, to get his confidence, to get that out the way. So now come week 14, 15, 16, he's clutch now. You know what I mean? And I think those two guys playing at such a high level really is part of the reason why we playing the Super Bowl.
All right, so you mentioned earlier how much you've enjoyed UCF's success the last couple of years. How often are you able to get back and maybe see a game on campus? Have you been back recently, and do you have any plans to get back soon to watch a game?
I came back the year before COVID. Okay. I was down there and I seen our trainer Mary, who's still there. That's when the coach who's now at Tennessee, he was the head coach.
Josh Heupel.
So Josh Heupel. So I was able to meet him. Mary gave me a tour around the facilities, and it was just amazing to see how far UCF came. You know what I mean? Back then, we was in the Wayne Dench facility, and it wasn't bad. I didn't think it was bad, but it wasn't what we have now. You know what I mean? And it's obviously the stadium being right next door. But to answer your question, I haven't been to a game just due to work, just being totally busy. But I'm looking forward to actually – oh, man, the spring game. The spring game is on my birthday this year, the 17th, if I'm not
I think it's the 16th.
Correct, right?
16th this year.
It's the 16th?
Yeah.
Okay, which is a Saturday, correct?
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, my birthday is on a Sunday, so the 17th. So I'm looking forward. I may make that spring game. I want to come to the spring game, so I think I'm going to do that. And also definitely check out one of the home games this year as well. So,
well,
yeah.
I know UCF fans would love to see it, and we appreciate you taking some time to walk down memory lane, but we're not done with you yet. We have a couple of rapid-fire questions for you. So these are going to be questions about music, movies, sports, food. You never know what you're going to get here. So are you prepared for these hard-hitting questions?
Yeah, movies, man. I don't watch no movies. So
okay. We'll scratch those out then. All right, I'll scratch that out. So you mentioned this earlier. So now in college football, it's possible to sign deals that get paid for your name, image, and likeness, which is not something that you had the ability to do when you were in college. So if you could have gone back in time and it was legal for you to have signed a deal for your name, image, and likeness while you were at UCF, what product would you have wanted to endorse?
Like the local pools.
Yeah.
Like pools in our communities.
Okay.
I don't know what you call it. The recreation parks.
Okay.
Yeah, for the kids. Yeah.
Okay.
Something along those lines. Yeah.
You don't want like one of the bars, like the Mill, a Liquid Cellar, something like that. You want to go family friendly with family stuff.
Yeah, because when I was growing up, we had the pools in the summertime. Everyone go to the pools. They don't have that anymore. So something for the kids to do, to get these kids off the streets and more involved in, being kids. You know what I mean? Yeah, something along those lines.
All right. Obviously, you were probably one of the stronger guys on the team back then. Which guy on that UCF team, though, could beat you in arm wrestling?
Steve Edwards.
He was a beast, that guy, huh?
Yeah, that guy was amazing. He was a beast.
Well,
What about Coach Cruz? Would you be able to beat Cruz in an arm wrestling contest?
I'll beat Coach Cruz, man. He was like 50 years old. He had all the muscles, but I think that was all show. You know, I was a little young whippersnapper, so if I was to lose to that guy, I probably couldn't never step a foot on UCF campus anymore. I'll beat Coach Cruz.
All right, you mentioned you love to hit the quarterback. What's the hardest hit you've ever delivered? Who's the hardest person that you ever hit that you knew you hit him good?
Kevin Jones, running back at Virginia Tech. He broke for like 30 yards, and I had the angle. You know, he was on the sideline trying to get extra yards, and I hit him so hard. Like, he was literally where the cameraman be at high in the air, way off the sideline. Yeah, he flew like way over there. Like, so I would have to say Kevin Jones, yeah. It felt so great, too. It felt amazing.
Are you a better singer or a dancer?
Singer. I have an amazing voice.
What's your go-to song if you gotta do like a karaoke song?
Michael Jackson. No. Yeah, Michael Jackson. Anything Michael Jackson. I killed it.
Are you hitting the high notes?
Yeah, you got to catch me in the morning for the high notes, though.
Okay.
Anything before 11, yeah.
I'm glad you said that. I was going to ask you to do it. I'm glad you clarified that. That's too late for the high notes. You're very smart on that one. What was your pregame meal? What was your go-to? What did you want to have before a big game? Was there something specifically you had to eat every time?
Just fruits. I had to have some sort of fruit. You know, food-wise, whatever they had healthy, you know, I'll eat. But I definitely had to have some fruits.
Were you a superstitious kind of guy? Were you, same armband? You put your, the same chair that you sat in? Did you have superstitions going into game days?
I did it. But one thing I can say, I don't know why it was like this, but in Cincinnati, every home game for 4 years, every home game, we in the hotel, I sweated. I had to wake up in a puddle of sweat every night. Like, I don't know why. Only in the home games that happened. I don't know why. It wasn't a good thing. You know what I mean? Waking up in a wet bed, just sweating. But, yeah, that was kind of crazy if you ask me.
All right, I know you're a Miami guy, and you grew up around the same time as us. So, Uncle Al or Uncle Luke?
Oh, jeez.
You got to pick one.
I'm going to say Uncle Al.
Wow.
Yeah, that booty music, right?
Oh, yeah. Have the ladies going crazy, man. But Luke did too. But Uncle Al, that was the guy. That was my guy.
All right, we just saw some controversy in the NFL playoffs with the overtime rules, where essentially Kansas City won the coin toss and it was over from that perspective. If you had to go out and you were the guy calling the coin toss, do you call heads or do you call tails?
I would call heads.
So every time you're heads?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Because they always say tails never fail, so I don't know what to do on that one. I don't know if it's heads or it's tails, but you're going to go heads every time.
I will go ahead. But you know what's crazy? We played the Philadelphia Eagles here in Cincinnati in a game winning the overtime. And I don't know who won the game. I forget. But we thought we didn't know that the game was over. Coach Lewis, no one knew that the game was over. The game ended, and we kind of just looking around like, hold on, what we doing? Don't the other team get a chance to score? Like, no one knew the rules. It was crazy. True story. Even Coach Lewis.
I was gonna say, was that the game McNabb said he didn't know that there could be ties or something?
I believe that was it. Yep, yep, against the Eagles. Yep, crazy, man.
All right, what's your dream vacation spot? What's one place you want to go you've never been?
I want to go to Africa. I want to go on a safari.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I plan on doing that once all this madness stops. But that's my dream. That's on my bucket list for sure. To go on a safari in Africa to see the wild animals in their natural habitat and take pictures and all that good stuff. Yeah.
You're not scared to get up close with some of those things?
Yeah, hopefully they got a cage on the vehicles that we in or something like that. But I just want to be, safe, but watching them in their natural habitat. Yeah.
November of 2008, Eagles and Bengals tied 13-13, the first tie in, at that point, like 6 years.
Oh, so it ended in a tie.
Ended in a tie, yeah.
Yeah, man, we were so confused. We were so confused. Like, we didn't – the referees ran off the field. They were going, and we just standing there like – it was weird, man. No one knew the rule. It was crazy.
Yeah, Mike's right. Donovan McNabb got killed back then because he came out and said basically he didn't know that you could have a tie. He didn't know that was part of the rules, and he got killed for that in the media.
It's crazy. I don't think Coach Lewis knew either.
Well,
no one knew. It's crazy.
You guys had a rough year. You were 1-8 in that game. Yikes.
2008, yeah, we had a rough year that year.
Yeah,
2009, we kind of bounced back and swept the division, but 2008 was kind of rough.
Well, Rashad, we appreciate you taking some time and hopping on. I know we kind of connected with you late in the day, so definitely appreciate you making some time for us. I know Knight fans are going to love to hear your stories about your time at UCF, and you never know, maybe some Knight fans will pull for Bengals on Super Bowl Sunday just in your honor, man. But we appreciate you taking some time to join us tonight.
Hey, Adam and Mike, man, I appreciate you guys for having me. You guys doing an amazing job. Keep at it, man, and welcome me back, man. We gotta talk some UCF talk one of these days when the season starts or something like that.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. You're still down in Miami? You still live down south?
No, I'm up here in Kentucky now, near Cincinnati.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So.
All right, well, be well, man. Charge on.
Charge on. Thanks, guys.
Okay, sons of UCF, both of you, you are the father.
All right, Mike, we'll do Cow of the Week in just a second, but Rashad Jeanty, good to catch up with him. Obviously, he's a guy who played a handful of years in the league, was a great story. He told some fun stories in there. Obviously, some stuff maybe we didn't know about his exit from UCF and sort of what happened there. And it's a good thing the transfer portal wasn't around because I've heard a one and done. He was going to be one game and done at UCF. So definitely some good honesty and good to catch up with Rashad.
Yeah, great guy. Happy for him that his Bengals are back in the Super Bowl. You know, he played for that franchise. It's a different connection he has with that team. You know, as UCF fans, we went to the school with a pro team. It's either the city you lived in or whatever, but it's not the same connection. He's got that connection. He's a Bengals alumni, so I'm rooting for the Bengals with him this week too, and hopefully they can pull it off.
Oh, you're pro Bengals?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I don't like the Rams for a few reasons. One, the last time I cried from a football game, I was 9 years old. It was Giants, Rams, playoffs. Flipper Anderson catches a touchdown in overtime, runs all the way into the tunnel. Broke my heart. I've never liked the Rams since then. You know, the Greatest Show on Turf Rams, I didn't really care for all those guys. So screw the Rams. Beckham's on the Rams. I don't really care for Beckham. And I'm rooting for the Bengals about that. The Bengals have never won a Super Bowl, right? They were close against Joe Montana and couldn't pull it off. So I'm rooting for the Bengals.
Okay. Well, I mean,
Like the Rams?
Well, I don't know that I like the Rams. I mean, they have Jacob Harris. There's an Otis Anderson connection. So thinking UCF centric. I mean, they're a group that I would root for. I always kind of felt bad for Matthew Stafford. I mean, he kind of just got lost to Detroit, and that's not a place you want to get lost in. But I really wouldn't care either way. Something about Joe Burrow, I don't know if I like him or not. I can't tell, like, day to day, like game to game, week to week, interview to interview. I don't know if I like him or not. So I need to really come to grips with the Joe Burrow thing. They're the underdog, so I guess I typically go underdog, but I just really want a good game. I mean, we've been really spoiled in this off season or this postseason for the NFL, and so let's just get a good game for once.
Yeah, the Super Bowl has been pretty decent the last few years. A couple of the games have been good. What was last year's game? No, that wasn't great. The year before, that was pretty good. The 49ers and the Chiefs was a pretty decent game.
Yep.
I really don't care who wins. I mean, I say I'm rooting for the Bengals, but I'm really rooting for my Super Bowl squares whenever I figure out what numbers those are.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm really rooting for.
There we go.
And for a good game, I want to be entertained all the way to the end. It sucks when it's over by halftime. So. But the halftime show this year should be cool, right? Especially for guys our age.
Yeah.
Dre,
Snoop, Eminem. Yeah, it's going to be a total 90s festival. I can't wait.
Mm-hmm.
Does that just show how old we are now? That now our acts are. I mean, I guess we've had guys when we were younger. The acts were our age because sometimes they had, the new artists out. But now we're the old guys.
Yeah.
I don't know. Does it make you feel old seeing these? It's
Yes.
going to depend on how they perform out there, I guess.
Yeah, shameful admission. I don't think anyone's listening to this late in the show anyway. On Friday evening, I went out with some coworkers from my old job, and the majority of them are 25 or younger. So I'm by far. There's one other guy who's a little older than me, but I'm by far the oldest person around. And we went to play pool, and somebody had got one of those. It's one of those juke boxes that you can like program the song on your phone, right? So someone had like made a playlist and had like bought like the next like 10 songs, right? And NSYNC's "It's Gonna Be Me" came on, right? And for some reason, like I've, as you might know, Mike, I know every word of that song. I remember most of the dance that actually comes along with that song as well. And the rest of the 25-year-olds were absolutely mortified that A, I would know the words to that song, B, that I would actually even know some of the dance moves to that, and C, they kept playing all the hits. Like all the NSYNC hits were coming on after that. And your boy, I didn't miss a beat. I had them all down. So I definitely felt like the old guy, and I imagine I'll feel like the old guy again during the Super Bowl.
Yep. They're saying that a lot of kids are going to find out who their parents were 30 years ago when they start singing some of these songs. How many of these songs are they even going to be able to sing on a Super Bowl stage? There's a bunch of Snoop Dogg songs I know that you can't for sure sing on.
It's going to be one of these mashup deals. Yeah, it's going to be one of those where they play like one verse of like an Eminem song that goes into a Snoop song that goes into a Dre song that goes into three of them. Mary J. Blige is coming out at some point. I think Kendrick Lamar is there. So you're going to get all kinds of a mashup. But I think we just breezed past something really quickly here. I want to make sure that now I can embarrass you fully as well. I'm fairly confident you also knew that NSYNC dance.
Maybe at some point, not 20 years later.
I think if I turn that on right now, I think you would. It's where you point to the head. They're doing the thing with the arms. I'm pretty sure you knew that dance too. Every little thing I do never seems to. I know you know. There's 1,000%. 1,000%.
I don't know. I plead the fifth.
Okay. All right, well, now that I'm cow of the week, why don't you tell us who your actual cow of the week might be?
All right, the NFL Pro Bowl.
Oh, God.
Right. They're still doing this. I don't know why. Why are they still bothering with this game at this point? Nobody wants to play in it. Every year, people just cancel out of it. So you got guys like Mac Jones as the quarterback of the AFC. They don't actually play football. They play two-hand touch. What is the actual point of this? Is it going to just take somebody like blowing out their ACL for them to say, finally, we can stop with this charade of a game? I mean, all-star games in general are just crap. I don't understand what the point of any of them are. The NHL had their all-star weekend this weekend too. They're playing 3-on-3 in a 4-team tournament. I don't know, man. What do people care about this stuff anymore? People watching the Pro Bowl? I didn't watch any of it. I didn't complain. I know it sounds like I'm complaining about it now, but I had to come up with the cow of the week, and you know me with my cow of the week.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't complaining about it during the game. But who actually likes this? Who sits down on Sunday, 3:00, gets all hyped up for the Pro Bowl? They get their sandwiches ready. They're tailgating for this thing, and they can't wait to see their favorite players go out there and half-ass it, for 20 minutes. Who does that? Not me. You?
I don't think I would watch the Pro Bowl if they played it in my backyard. Like, if I literally looked out my window, I was like, Steph, are they playing the Pro Bowl back here? I think I'd be like, yeah, maybe they are. And I'd probably turn around and go do something else.
Exactly, because they're not playing football. I don't know what they're doing, but it's not football. They have rules where you can't blitz, you can't do this, you can't do that. The skills competition would be a more exciting thing. They did do that, right?
They
I
did.
didn't watch that either, but
they did do that, Mike. You know what? I don't mean to break into your thing here, but I've got a top 5 list of things I'd rather see them do than actually play a football game. Are you ready for the top 5 list of things I'd rather see the NFL Pro Bowl players do?
Yes.
Number 5.
Can't wait.
Give me a 3-point shooting contest. Line them all up. Let's almost like old school knockout. You remember knockout when you played at that recess, right? The one guy shoots, and if he misses it, the guy behind him shoots. That guy's out. Give me all the guys lined up, and they're playing a game of knockout, and we'll see who the true champion is of the NFL Pro Bowler. So number 5 on the list. Give me some sort of shooting contest. Give me knockout.
All right.
Number 4.
So you're going to incorporate other sports, obviously.
Well, we'll see what we got. Number 4, Mike. Give me the old sports day games. Give me sack races, wheelbarrow races. You got to run around with that spoon and an egg on it. You can't drop the thing. That you got to go around the baseball bat 3 times and then run to the other side. Give me just old school sports day. Let's see which side can be the sports day races.
Field day.
That's what I said. Yeah, give me some field day.
3rd grade. Yeah.
Yeah. Number 3. A big-ass game of duck, duck, goose. Who doesn't love a big game of duck? There's just a big, giant circle, and let's just see who the best duck, duck, goose guy is. I mean, what other, there's cardio involved. There's some strategy involved. Give me just a big game of duck, duck, goose.
You might have lost me on this one.
Okay, number 2. Give me
duck, duck, goose.
Duck, duck, goose. It was better. Would it not? Would you watch that as opposed to watching the actual game? If I was like, hey, Mike, if you turn on right now,
it's better than the game.
These dudes are playing duck, duck, goose. You would be like, I'll check that out. Number 2, Mike, let's bring back Fear Factor. I want to lock these guys up in like cages with like scorpions and snakes and cockroaches, and let's see who the real tough guys are out there. So let me give you a little Fear Factor type thing. Lock them in some sort of a thing with insects or rodents and see who comes out with the longest time. What do you think?
Yeah, no, that is something. You're onto something with that one.
Okay.
Yes, I can see 350-pound lineman, peeing down his leg because he got a spider on him. That would be fun to watch.
Yeah.
I could see that.
And the number 1 thing I'd rather see the NFL Pro Bowl players do, let's all get together and see who can solve the Wordle the fastest. Let's just have one big Wordle competition. We'll see which of the Pro Bowl guys can do the Wordle fastest, and that's your Pro Bowl winner, Mike. Those are top 5 things I'd rather see them do than play football.
The Wordle might take them a while on some of these guys, huh?
I don't know.
And how come the guy that invented Wordle didn't come up with a 5-letter word for Wordle? For the game?
That's a great
You would
question.
think that the game would be 5 letters.
Great
He
question.
names it Wordle, 6 letters.
Mm-hmm. Just poor planning in this part. Yeah, it was a terrible game. It was so bad, by the way, that Alvin Kamara got arrested after it because he got in a fight the night before, and they let him play the game, and then they arrested him. If I was him, I'd be like, you might as well pick me up now.
Do we even know who won? Anything?
The AFC won.
What the score was?
I don't know that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a waste of time.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're still doing it. I don't know. People are still watching. And it's crazy because I bet you they'll come out and say that the ratings for that were higher than any World Series game last year or any NBA final. It's ridiculous. People are so addicted to football that they have to watch that because it's the only game on. I've seen people put out there, you want to cure tanking or whatever it is at the end of the year, put the team with the worst 2 records on that day and let them play for the number 1 pick. That'd be more exciting than watching a Pro Bowl. Yeah.
Yeah, there are options. Yeah, I'd rather take the national championship from college football and have them play the worst team. I'd rather watch that. There's like a million things that you could watch as opposed to whatever that actually, or just let's just call it flag football and call it what it is. Like the NBA went through this when they had to reinvent the dunk contest. I think Major League Baseball goes through this where you draft teams. I think the NFL's tried that before in the past. They need something. Just either that or just have these guys walk out, wave a little bit, shake some hands, make it like a charity event. But let's not act like they're going to play football because it was just a waste of 4 hours.
Yeah. And we'll do it again next year, I guess.
Well, maybe
because people seem to watch it.
Maybe not. Maybe duck, duck, goose. Everybody just stand pat, Mike. My cow of the week this week is, and I actually don't really feel bad for it, but it's just kind of a funny situation, is whatever the hell's going on at Auburn right now. For those who aren't following, obviously, Gus Malzahn got fired at Auburn and is now obviously with UCF. They hired Brian Harsin from Boise State, and we have reaped the benefits of some of the things going on there as a lot of guys have entered the transfer portal. A lot of Gus's former Auburn guys are coming to UCF, and then word started to leak that maybe there was something of a Bobby Petrino situation going on with Harsin and one of his secretaries or something. Now UCF signee Lee Hunter was on IG Live with another former Auburn guy, now current UCF guy, Kobe Hudson, talking about how Brian Harsin was not a nice person. And then Auburn basically puts a statement out saying, hey, we're looking at all this. We're going to figure out what's going on, and we'll basically just kind of let you know. And then they released another statement being like, we're still looking into this. We want a quick resolution on it. So they're basically hanging poor Brian Harsin out to dry. And maybe he should be hung out to dry. I don't really know. But the whole thing, the way this is playing out, is just a complete fiasco. I don't feel any bad for Auburn. It just like either fire this guy or not. But just everything that's happening at this point, just another. Auburn seems to always find ways to screw this stuff up, right? They did it with Gus, and now 1 year later they're going to do it with Brian Harsin. Again, to our benefit, right? We have Gus, and now they don't. But Auburn's just got to get their stuff together.
Good thing they have the number 1 basketball team in the country right now. But I don't think they care as Auburn fans. They trade in the basketball team right now for a 10-2 football team every day of the week. It's not a good situation over there. And that's what happens when you get rid of some quality guy like Gus Malzahn. And you don't know what you're replacing him with. And Gus was a winner over there. He beat Saban a few times. He had them competing for the conference a bunch of times. And they just got impatient too fast. And now look what they're going through. And who knows? This guy's gone after a year. Who you're replacing him with? And that guy may only be around for another year or two too. So it's a tough cycle to break once you get into it. And these guys are right in it now.
It is. Again, it doesn't really impact UCF. Actually, if anything, it's a bad thing because maybe all the Auburn guys get a new coach and like that one and stay, and now we don't have the transfer portal stuff opening up. But either way, Auburn, just get your stuff together, Mike. That's a wrap on this one, my friend. A quick little 2-hour jaunt through the headlines. Great to catch up with Rashad Jeanty. Great to introduce the audience to manscaped.com. Again, 20% off, promo code Sons of UCF at checkout. You're going to want to go check some stuff out, buy some stuff for yourself for Valentine's Day. Maybe you got a buddy you want to buy some stuff for. Ladies, if you're listening, maybe your man would want something. I don't know, Mike. Maybe we should figure that out. But either way, go check all that stuff out. Make sure you're following us on social media, Sons of UCF, everywhere you do that. And don't forget Thursday night, Mike. We're back on Thursday. A live show with Trace Trelko, 8 to 9, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Don't be late. I think we're covering the linebackers this week, Mike. You never know which former UCF linebacker might join us.
That's right. And going to the Manscaped thing again, it's not just the razor. They have a lot of products. If you go on the website, check it out. They got lotions, they got creams. They've got this thing called ball toner, which I've never heard of before, but I got it. I tell you what, I spritz it on.
Yeah.
Feels good.
Yeah.
My balls feel nice and toned.
Mm-hmm.
So, ladies, Valentine's Day right around the corner. Get on that website. Do it now. Sons of UCF promo code. And hook your boy up, right? Because he'll thank you. His balls will thank him. I'm very excited about this Manscaped.
I know you are. It's a win-win for everybody. It's really a win-win for everybody. And look, people are going to snicker and laugh and be like, oh, well, like this is real legit stuff. I mean, the kit they sent Mike and I was literally like different products. There's a travel bag. There's a carrying case. There's attachments. There's the different razor and shaver options. This is legit stuff. And it's probably, again, it's a sensitive topic. It's an area that makes people kind of chuckle and laugh a little bit. But trust us, when you get this thing, you're not going to want to laugh at it anymore. You're going to be glad you did that. So check all that stuff out. Check us out on Thursday. Make sure you follow us on social media. We can't wait to talk more UCF with you. And everybody, be safe out there. Have a fantastic week. And if something exciting happens, we'll be sure to talk about it next week. But until then, everybody, go Knights.
Charge out.